Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Paul Watson, a lot is happening.
Hello, Alex. Good to be back.
Good to have you here with us. All right, give us your analysis, your take on where the Russia situation's going. Then let's get into the economy, the police state, all of it.
Well, the Russia situation basically started for me when a couple of Fridays ago we were updating the websites in the morning and we read stories about Georgian forces attacking and killing Russian peacekeepers. But by the time we went and looked at the news again in the afternoon, it became the fact that Russia had attacked Georgia, and the original stories about Georgia attacking the Russian peacekeepers had all but disappeared. And of course, that was timed to coincide with the opening ceremony of the Beijing Olympics. So by the time that Saturday morning came around, it was the evil Russians that had started the war, killed civilians, and they were being painted as the villains of the entire piece by the Western media.
And that's ongoing now. Break that down.
Well, there's numerous examples. BBC, Sky News, CNN have all used footage of the ruins of the South Ossetian provincial capital, which was destroyed, 70% destroyed. They've all used footage of that destruction and said in the narrative that the footage represents the aftermath of the Russian attack on Gori, the Georgian town of Gori. And to have three separate Western news networks carry out that scam is telling about the way in which the propaganda war is being waged.
Yeah, they're not liberal, they're not conservative, they are Pentagon run, and that's come out in past years. This is just complete and total lies and contempt for the people to lie of this magnitude.
Right, and I mean, it's not as if we haven't seen it before with the fake concentration camp in the Bosnia situation back in the mid-90s, where ITN, which is another British news organisation, filmed a refugee camp from the inside looking out, and then splashed it across the newspapers next day that it was a concentration camp, and that, of course, started the massacre of the Serbians, which was a NATO operation. But from the perspective from outside the US in this Russia-Georgia situation is that it's basically the decline and the next stage in the decline and fall of the Anglo-American empire, because every time that Bush or Condoleezza Rice comes out and orders the Russians to pull their troops out or do anything else, come to the table, the Russians simply ignore them and do whatever is on their agenda. So the result of that is that it completely discredits the American empire as it has been created and makes America look weak.
And now the unprecedented move, I mean, this normally is a prelude to war. They have kicked the Russian ambassadors out of NATO.
Right, so it's basically a redrawing of the lines. It's the emergence of Russia and China as the new empire, and the decline and fall of the Anglo-American empire.
But even during the Cold War, Russia had ambassadors to NATO. That's part of détente, part of talking. This is unprecedented. This is a message as they roll weapons and troops into the region surrounding Russia. And now we have the number 2 general in Russia coming out and saying that they are getting intel that you reported yesterday at prisonplanet.com that a false flag attack may be in the offing. Tell folks about that.
Yeah, that was Russian General Staff Anatoly Nogostin. Difficult to pronounce, but yeah, he's a top general in the Russian military, and he said on Monday that Georgia was possibly planning to commit false flag terror attacks. by using mercenaries with Slavic appearance, clad in the uniform of the Russian military, which is why they station troops around sensitive areas like hydroelectric plants and so forth, because they think that Georgia, is about to attempt a false flag attack, which would then be blamed on either Chechen separatists or whatever you want.
And let's be clear, there's already been a false flag attack, an attack on Russia, and then the media claiming Russia did it. That is a false flag right there. And so when they say they're getting intel that they may blow stuff up and blame it on the Russians, I mean, this is getting really serious.
Yeah, well, I mean, the original attack claimed it was indiscriminate in targeting civilian areas, universities and hospitals and so forth. Killed over, I mean, the conservative estimate is 1,400 civilians in South Ossetia. While that was taking place, the world was transfixed with the Olympics. And, I mean, it took about 6 or 8 hours for the mainstream media to even report on what was going on, and when they did, it was about the evil Russian aggressors.
Well, that tells us right there, the Western media is completely evil, the governments are completely criminal, and we already knew this, but it's just more validation that you can believe nothing they say or do. It is a criminal enterprise going for broke.
Exactly, and I mean, it was exemplified when they had that 12-year-old American girl on Fox News who was talking about how the Russians were the aggressors, and I mean how the Georgians were the aggressors, and she was saved by the Russian troops, and they just cut her off. And I mean, Sky News and others have used actual clips of South Ossetian civilians screaming and crying and mourning their loved ones, and said that they were Georgian citizens mourning the loss of their loved ones after the Russian attack. So they'll completely flip it around.
They've even shown Georgian troops attacking, as you said, South Ossetia, and then saying that they're Russian. They've shown South Ossetian hospitals and said that it's Georgians. Total contempt, total deception. Do you know what this means, listeners? You know what it means, the average yuppie out there listening, laughing right now? And this isn't cute. These levels of lies are very, very dangerous.
And then another thing that's dangerous is the fact that you've got this Saakashvili character who is so clearly mentally unstable. There was footage of him which we posted on Monday where he's on live television. He's talking to Bush or Condoleezza Rice on the phone, and he literally starts eating his own tie. And it's not as if it's, it's not a clear thing. He's actually eating his tie on live television.
It was like a Monty Python skit of showing a crazy person in a mental institution. He crams the red tie in his mouth, and then like a child with a crazy look starts chewing on it and just keeps going on live TV going, I mean, just nuts.
Exactly. And then there's that other footage of him scampering away after a plane flies over, and it's just pathetic. And the people behind him are pathetic. NATO and the Anglo-American Empire, every time they make a statement and Russia ignores it, it just makes them look weaker. So it's the next stage in the collapse of that empire and the advance of a new one, and that's obvious for everyone to see.
Well, I mean, the Russians aren't good. Their government's corrupt. Most governments are bad. The Chinese government's horrible. But the point is, when we're worse than them, and when we have leaders that are, I mean, Condoleezza Rice is a complete moron. Bush is a complete joke. And we're all being blamed for this, ladies and gentlemen. The world knows we're lying. It's all over foreign news. Look at the American media. They are congenital liars. Look how dumb their people are. They say Russia attacked Georgia. I mean, we are a laughing stock, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there's been global polls about, which side people believe, and the overwhelming majority believe the Russians, and it's not as if the Russians haven't been, fingering the fact that the entire Western media is engaged in. I mean, Lavrov came out, the Russian foreign minister, and he called it a propaganda scam that is attempting to present an aggression on the part of the Georgian army against its own citizens as a conflict between Georgia and Russia.
I mean, what do they expect Russia to do? They came in, they pushed the military out, the Georgians kept firing while saying ceasefire, ceasefire, begging for help, and announcing that Russia had invaded, and then the Russians have pulled back. Folks. Oh, man.
I mean, yeah, and exactly. Then you've got, I think it was last Friday, repeated reports about Russia attacking or advancing towards, in preparation to attack, the Georgian capital, Tbilisi, and other areas which the media was reporting that they were attacking.